I was censored not just by the Democratic administration. I was censored by the Trump administration. I was the first person censored by as the chairman pointed out, by the Biden administration 2 days after it came into office. It ordered a truthful, and by the way, they had to invent a new word called malinformation to censor people like me. There was no misinformation on my Instagram account. Everything I put on that account was cited and sourced to peer-reviewed publications or government databases. Nobody has ever pointed to a single piece of misinformation that I publish. I was removed for something they called malinformation. Malinformation is information that is true, but is inconvenient to the government, that they don't want people to hear. And that's antithetical to the values of our country. After I announced my presidency, it became more difficult for people to censor me outright. So now I'm subject to this new form of censorship, which is called targeted propaganda, where people apply pejoratives like anti-vax. I've never been anti-vaccine, but everybody in this room probably believes that I have been, because that's the prevailing narrative. Anti-Semitism, racism, these are the most appalling, disgusting pejoratives, and they're applied to me to silence me, because people don't want me to have that conversation about the war, about groceries, about inflation, about the war on the middle class in this country that we need to be having. And by the way, I want to say this while I'm on the record, that in my entire life, and why I'm under oath, in my entire life, I have never uttered a phrase that was either racist or anti-Semitic. I have spent my life fighting my professional career, fighting for Israel, the protection of Israel. I have a better record on Israel than anybody in this chamber today. I'm the only person who has publicly objected to the $2 billion payout that the Biden administration is now making to Iran, which is a genocidal program. I'm the only one who's objected to that. I fought more ferociously for Israel than anybody. But I am being censored here through this target, through smears, through misinterpretations of what I've said, through lies, through association, which is a tactic that we all thought we had been discredited and dispensed with after the Army McCarthy hearings in the 1950s. But those same weapons are now being deployed against me to silence me. I know many of the people who wrote this letter. I don't believe there's a single person who signed this letter who believes I'm anti-Semitic. I do not believe that. There is no evidence of that. I want to say something I think that's more important, and it goes directly to what you talked about, ranking member, which is the need, this toxic polarization that is destroying our country today. And how do we deal with that? This kind of division is more dangerous for our country than any time since the American Civil War. And how do we deal with that? How are we going to, every Democrat on this committee believes that we need to end that polarization. Do you think you can do that by censoring people? I'm telling you, you cannot. That only aggravates and amplifies the problem. We need to start being kind to each other. We need to start being respectful to each other.
We need to start being kind to each other. We need to start being respectful to each other. That is the message that RFK is trying to portray to this committee. All right, so let me let y'all know where he's at. He's speaking in front of Congress right now. Yesterday. It was going on yesterday. It was a lot of, I'm not sure if y'all heard it, because it was about censorship. I tend to listen to C-SPAN here and there to catch some of the stuff that they don't play on the news. So I'm listening to it. I'm hearing RFK. You can definitely tell his voice. So I'm like, oh, my antennas went. I'm like, what's he talking about? So RFK's at the censorship hearing, right? And let me let y'all know the drama that played out. Before he even got to speak, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, or I think that was her. It sounded like her. She put a motion, so the whole meeting's on censorship. She put a motion to censor RFK Jr. so we couldn't talk at the meeting where you just heard him. But luckily, hate to say luckily, but the Republicans have the majority over there, and they were able to, on party line, just allow Robert Kennedy Jr. to speak, right? So you hear why they don't want him to speak. So first and foremost, they're attacking him. They're calling him racist. They're going off of the statements that he made last week about COVID and it attacking white and black people and not attacking Jewish and Chinese people. So from that blew up, and he's being called anti-Semitic. The Virgin Islands congresswoman, she actually is calling him racist, saying that since he said that not the COVID vaccine, but COVID itself attacks white and black people more than other races. She took that in to say that he is trying to tell black people not to get vaccinated. So I listened to the whole thing. I listened to all of it. I didn't hear any of that. But you see where the propaganda, the lies, all that comes to play, because they'll just take one part of it and they'll actually create their own narrative. So right now, RF Kennedy Jr. is being seen as an anti-Semite who would like to lead blacks into a dark cave to die. And that's what the Democrats are trying to portray him as. And good thing about him, even though it's hard for him to get the words out a lot, it looks hard, sounds hard. I don't know if he speaks a lot, so I would think it hurts, but it doesn't. So with that said, he pushes back in every moment. The Virgin Island Congresswoman, Plasker, I forgot her name. Every time she attacks him, he pushes back tenfold, right? So even if she gets to attack him and cut off his time, I see the other side allowing him to respond to them. So it's really interesting listening to the whole thing. It even went to the point where she was giving a speech about him and saying he's anti-vax because of his stance on just bioweapons in general, saying that the bioweapon was engineered for blacks and whites. This is all from this statement, right? So he said that, and now he's anti-vax, right? So she's saying he's anti-vax, but he's a hypocrite because he forced people at some event that he had to be vaccinated, and all his kids are vaccinated. So they're trying to have it both ways. They're trying to say he's anti-vax, but yeah, he's not anti-vax, obviously, because he's forcing everybody to get vaccine around him. And with that said, like, how are you going to call him anti-vax when he's like, hey, you're like contradicting yourself in your own statement? So unfortunately, this representative from the Virgin Islands is looking, they gave her the job to look dumb, because she's really not proving any points. She's just using propaganda to demonize this guy. And I'm not trying to defend him in a way. I don't know enough about him, but all I could tell you is the words that are coming out of his mouth aren't matching the words that are coming out the opposition's mouth, which calling him, and I'm saying opposition is Democrats. Even though RFK is a Democrat, the opposition is strong from the Democrats. They're actually, treating them kind of like Trump. Like, hey, you're a racist, you're this. You can say one thing and they're going to jump to you like you're a MAGA Republican just because the Republicans are supporting you. So they go through the vax thing. They also hit him on, he has a donor, or he knows someone. They portrayed it as, his super PAC, the dude who runs the super PAC is a Trumper, MAGA Trumper. He says, I don't know that guy. I don't know who you're talking about. Later on, he spoke to someone, he clarified. He said, hey, that's a friend of a friend, but I don't even know who he is. He has nothing to do with our organization. With that said, and let me say that real quick. When he said that was at the end of the meeting, right? He had to clarify this last part at the end of the meeting. The ranking member on the Democrat side, the Virgin Island woman, she actually fought tooth and nail to silence him. Like, they were like, hey, he was like, can I say one more thing? Because he pretty much was slandered. I mean, assuming that everything he said was true, and, because I've heard his words, and they were going off the words he said, and I am to assume that I listened to the words he said. I got an idea from it. I comprehended what he said. I had my own perception of what he meant, and it matches what he meant, not what they're accusing. They're saying he's racist, anti-Semitic on that, but I didn't hear that. I heard bioweapon engineering directed towards white and black people. That's all I heard, and all the other things he said. But so we're dealing with a guy who is definitely pushing back against the establishment. He doesn't want to deal with he doesn't want to deal with any of the fabrications that are being placed forward, obviously. Like he's not with the COVID fabrication. He's not with any of these racial component fabrications. I mean, only if it's the case. He seems to be a truth speaker. So RFK is definitely being will be portrayed to you guys as regardless what he says, they already have the story. He's going to be portrayed to you guys as a Republican, a Republican mule or Democrat mole or Republican mole, whatever. Like, they're going to call him Russian, they're going to call him Republican. It's the same thing that they're doing with Cornel West right now. See, Cornel West, although may not be flipping over the chairs like RFK is doing, but Cornel West is very, very well-spoken, very, very intelligent as far as when he wants to get his point across. You're not going to be able to get him in that corner like you're not going to be able to do that because words are words, and he's very, very selective with his words, right? So he knows exactly the words he's going to use to get the reception that he wants, So RFK, he's just trying to be a truth teller, and sometimes being a truth teller, a lot of people don't understand the truth, so they go with their own narratives, and no, you're saying that the blacks are you're racist. Like this whole thing with Florida and Florida with the blacks actually learning things under slavery. Both sides are fucking bonkers with that one. It's like, okay, so y'all done treated the slaves like animals and taught them some things, and now y'all expect them to, or now they tradesmen. And the other side just wanted to be like, how dare the Republicans say the slaves learned anything? But both could be true. Right now we got Cornel West. He's definitely, he's going to get some screen time, but they're going to try to sweep him under the rug because he's one guy that can win. They can call him a Russian. They can call him a racist. They can call him all they want to call him, but I'll guarantee you that Cornel West has been in the public view long enough that everybody has their own perception of him. Okay? So you're not going to be able to call him a Republican when his whole life he ain't never did nothing Republican. So you're never going to be able to call him a Russian because he ain't with the Russians. You know what I mean? He's not with the white supremacy over there in Ukraine, Russia, and all that. He doesn't want nothing to do with that. So you're not going to be able to throw these things at him. You're not going to be able to call him an anti-vaxxer because all he's going to do is he's a philosopher at heart. So philosophy kind of trumps all sometimes because it's visionary, it's forward seeing, it's not an opinionated, in a sense. Not looked as being opinionated, it's looked as being proactive in a way. So Cornel West, he's doing his thing right now. And I would like to see him with a little more light in front of these politicians right now. They're doing a lot of trash at RFK. There's really not much other options other than RFK. And, there's talk about Gavin Newsom actually running for president. He's been attacking the Florida governor. So that's definitely going to be a carrot. The Democrats will have to, a carrot on that stick, the Democrats will have to pass up if they really want a perfect union and to kind of defeat this two-party system. Because Gavin Newsom, although well-spoken, clean-cut, it obviously comes off to look like a sleazeball in a sense, just like DeSantis, just these corporate sleazeballs, just wearing different color ties. So it's not like you can trust him one bit, because once he gets in there, he's just going to do what he wants to do what they told him to do. So in the sense that, he's just going to play a position, you can't look for him to change. He's not looking to change. He's attacking Florida for gun laws when California leads the U.S. in mass shootings. He's attacking Florida for various things, and where California is losing in. So it's hypocritical to a point. So, but back to RFK and just all the important things that he has to say to us, and we're not being able to hear.
I want to put aside my written statement for a moment and address one of the points that was brought up, I think an important point by the ranking member, that this body ought to be concerning itself with the issues that impact directly the American people. The rising price of groceries, 76% over the past 2 years for basic foodstuff, the war in Ukraine, the inflation issues, the border issues, many, many other issues that concern us all as a nation. We can't do that without the First Amendment, without debate. When I gave my speech, my announcement speech in Boston 2 months ago, YouTube, I talked about all those issues. I focused on grocery. I focused on the fact that working class people can no longer afford to live in this country. I talked about inflation, all the issues that deeply concern you, and that you've devoted your career to alleviating those issues. 5 minutes into my speech, when I was talking about Paul Revere, YouTube deplatformed me. I didn't talk about vaccines in that speech. I didn't talk about anything that was a verboten subject. I just was talking about my campaign and things, the conversation that we ought to be having with each other as Americans. But I was shut down.
He was shut down. He was shut down. They shut him down. He had no choice. They shut him down. That's the thing with the social media right now we're dealing with. I'm not sure if y'all saw the Supreme Court actually ruled that the White House can no longer work with social media companies to silence people, to block people, to stop disinformation, all the information that they don't want to get out. So, and that's why we have this censorship meeting right now, because there's a real strong push to censor these social media companies through other means, even though the Supreme Court has not allowed it. And a lot of this comes from a lot of the censoring around COVID, censoring around, I guess, Joe Biden's laptop, and it is what it is. And knowing the two-party, one-party system is, yeah, they're gonna stop the censoring now, but it's gonna come back tenfold. They will agree on something to fix the censoring, because the next person that they're gonna censor, trust me, they're gonna try to find a little. If they get Trump up there again to win, oh yeah, trust, there's gonna be a lot more restrictive laws on this, because they're actually using guys like Donald Trump, who go up there and do wild things, so when they get out, when they can slander him and get him out, then they create these laws preventing the next guy from doing the things that he did. So it actually reduces the freedom and the executive branch, the power of the executive branch, through these so-called radical, unradical presidents, because they feel like they're doing the good of the people, the bit of the people, but they're actually doing the opposite. They're never gonna tell us that. So with that said, I'm gonna let y'all go. Like, subscribe, comment. Y'all have a good one.